Yes. So, okay, recording progress. Thank you very much. It seems a bit quiet. Let me just see. Yes, the volume is a bit up now. Okay. Okay, good. Well, welcome to the ladies' Shiur for Parsha's Bechukotai, which is the climax, the final Parsha within the book of Leviticus. The Leviticus. And it's quite a dramatic ending, really, because the Parsha speaks about all the blessings that the Jewish people will get if they keep the Torah and the mitzvahs, and the opposite if they do not keep the Torah and the mitzvahs.
Is that like the longest of the year in the whole?
No, actually, funnily enough, it's not the longest. The longest one, actually, if I'm not mistaken, probably is is actually a similar thing. You're thinking of Parshas Kisobo. Now, Kisobo, which is in the book of Devarim, yes, Devarim, actually, there we have a repetition of the curses. Yes, one we have before just Shiur's, and the other before we get just before Rosh Hashanah. Yes, or around about Rosh Hashanah time. And there, in fact, it's twice as long as here. Here is pretty long. Yes, you've got about 46 verses, and there, I think in Kisovo, it's like 98. 98, it says 98 curses.
Wow.
Yes, so it's real fun and games over there. And so that is a very, very long aliyah. You've got quite possibly the longest aliyah.
I think Daniel Kinlaw used to.
Yes, exactly. That is the custom, that actually you don't call people up. To this, the aliyah that we have, the curses, which is actually in Shlishi. Yes, you don't call anybody up, because nobody wants to be called up. It sounds like, it looks like it, not really, but really, because in Hasidic philosophy it seems actually that all these they're greater blessings. They're just blessings that you can't understand. They're so great. Like a parent sometimes has to reprimand a child, right? Consequences, you know, and the greatness of the but because it's, people don't get that, they don't realize that, they don't want to get an aliyah. So the custom is that the Gabbai, one of the Gabbaim, gets an aliyah. He just goes up. They don't even call him up. They don't call him up, right? And I just tell an interesting story that there was actually, this happened actually Parsha's Kisovo, when they were reading the curses. This happened in the time of the Alter Rabbi, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Rabbi, and his son was a child of maybe 11, 12 years old, something like that. And his father, Rabbi Shneur Zalman, he used to be the Baal Korah in Shul. Okay, every week is Baal Korah. But that week, he was away. He was away, so somebody else taking over. Yeah? So whoever this was taking over, he read the curses. Yes. And the kid, his son, was a very, you can imagine, a sensitive soul. He fainted.
Oh, gosh.
He fainted. You have a kid of 11, 12 years old fainted when he heard the laying. It was a whole tumult. And he didn't just faint. Apparently he got quite ill, to the point where they weren't sure he could even fast on Yom Kippur. Because at that time, 11, 12 years old, a kid is supposed to, well, he's supposed to fast. You start them off, you know, give them either a few hours, half a day, or sometimes even the whole day, yeah, depending how old they are. And they couldn't, so they weren't sure if he could fast. So at one point they asked the kid, he says, "Do you hear this every year? Why suddenly this year? Why is it suddenly this year you fainted?" So he says, "It's true, I hear it every year." He says, "But usually when my father says it, I don't hear any curses." Because he's saying it with the spiritual love and warmth of a true tzaddik. Yes? So even though the words are scary, you read them, but when they're said with incredible love, and you know, so then I don't hear anything negative. You know, this guy, he's an ordinary guy, he's a Baal Korah, he reads, and I heard the curses, so it scared the heck out of me. Right? This is the this is the story. So it just relates here, of course. And we speak about rewards, punishments in this week's Parsha. Perhaps a person may say it's just about benefits and consequences. A person goes to a doctor, and the doctor says, look, I really think you should change your diet, cut out some sugar, cut out this, cut out that, get some exercise, yes, and you'll feel better. Your blood count's going to be higher. You're going to do very well. You're going to feel good, and this is the way to do it. See, right? And if what if I don't do that? If you carry on smoking, and you carry on drinking like a Michiganer, and you do this and you don't do that, and you do so, what's going to happen? You're going to get ill. You're going to get this, and you're going to get that. This can happen to that, right? And sometimes doctors do this, don't they? Doctors love to scare. They love to scare their patients. Sometimes have to give them a shock treatment, right? And sometimes the shock treatment is just meant to, shock them a bit, move them a little bit, so they go, move, rather than just carry on in the same sort of complacent sort of way, right? So perhaps here is a similar sort of idea that Hashem is, giving a sort of a shock therapy of what could happen. So a person would say, oh, I don't want that to happen, you know what I'm saying? So therefore, they're going to be careful. Now, one of the questions, if you remember, we asked yesterday, we have also lunchtime shiur, lunch and which I was giving yesterday. I was standing in for the usual teacher.
If Anne's, I'm going to go.
Sorry?
If Anne goes, I'm going to go.
Yes, it's really nice.
You're very welcome.
Yes.
But okay, that's yes, it's a good shiur. It's a good shiur. Yes, Rabbi Shepherd. Yes. So we were discussing that all these wonderful rewards. I mean, the rewards go on, all sorts of amazing things. The land will give its fruit. The produce that makes it grain. There'll be so much grain, so much fruit. They'll get crazy. Even it says that the non-fruit bearing trees will become fruit bearing trees. Wow. That's pretty amazing. Wow. The fruit will be massive sized. Yes, you'll have so much. There's going to be so much, right? And you're going to have peace in the land, right? Not only going to dwell within great wealth and affluence, but you'll have the peace to enjoy it. Sometimes you can have wealth and affluence, but if you don't have shalom and you don't have peace, kind of like it's a bit of a hollow thing, right? People who are, let's say, very wealthy, but they may be spending lots of money on who knows what, bills and for medical expenses and stuff like that. So a person, we want to be able to enjoy the wealth as well, right? But of course, the question is, it's all very well Hashem telling us all these wonderful rewards, right? But surely that's not really the reward of Torah and mitzvahs. The reward of Torah and mitzvahs is not just having lots of money and lots of fruit and lots of produce, is it? Surely there is a much higher, greater spiritual reward. So why is the Torah tell us about all this flashy, material rewards? The first step of understanding, the pshat. Yeah, but they see even in pshat, an incentive. Yeah, I mean that is, yes, but okay, but I hear that it can seem as an incentive, but Maimonides looks at it slightly differently. This is what we discussed. That Maimonides says, really, we're not actually talking about rewards here. It's not the reward, although it looks like it. It looks like if you do the mitzvahs in Bechukotai, if you keep my mitzvahs and you do everything, then great, I'm going to reward you. You're going to have lots of fruit, lots of produce. You're going to be overflowing with food and good, and wealth. So the Rambam, Maimonides, explains in Mishnah Torah. He says, no. That is not the basis of what this is about. This is not the reward we're talking about. The Rambam explains like this. He says, look, if you keep Torah and mitzvahs, then what Hashem will do is He will provide you with the affluence and the ease to do more Torah mitzvahs.
Oh, that's Hayom Yom.
Yes,
The reward of the mitzvah, the mitzvah.
the
itself.
reward of the
Yeah,
mitzvahs itself.
I think it's
Exactly.
today.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. And therefore the thing is that so because obviously if people are just trying to survive, yes, they don't really have time so much to learn. They don't have much time to come to Shiurim. They're too busy trying to make a living and too busy to, right. So Hashem says, okay, I'm gonna make things good for you. I'm gonna make things easier for you. So when you have things easy, guess what? You'll be able to learn more, you'll love more, you'll be able to accrue even more spiritual reward. We're not talking about the spiritual reward here. Because so here's the incentive in a sense. It's an incentive to work towards the spiritual reward of the mitzvah itself. The more mitzvahs you have, yes, it's the nicer you look. A person, if a person has a little jewelry, a little bracelet, right, a little very thin gold bracelet. Well, that's nice. Okay, it's good. But when you have some earrings and necklace and bracelets and brooches and right, so it looks a whole lot better, doesn't it? You see, right?
Or a thicker bracelet.
A thicker bracelet. Massive earrings. There's America, they're very big on big earrings.
Well, what? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you notice I got rid of it in the front?
That's where we got rid of the extras.
Yeah, we got rid of it. I put a rose bush.
Yeah. So here, it's like a thorn amongst the roses. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this then is really the basis of the idea of the mitzvahs here. Now, of the material things that we mentioned here. Now, just another point I want to mention here is that it says in Bechukotai, if you will go in my statutes. Now, we mentioned before that the word choik, which means something that you don't necessarily understand. Yes, there are mitzvahs that you understand, mitzvahs that you don't understand, and there are mitzvahs that make sense to you when somebody tells you.
Like, for example, one good example, like kashrus.
Are you talking about things you don't understand?
Yeah.
Yes. Kasha, I mean, it's interesting. We said yesterday the mitzvah of and the mitzvah often is shatnez. You know shatnez?
Yeah, wool and linen.
Wool and linen. Now, many point to that as being a chok. Yes, but I actually just noticed today that again, if you look at Maimonides, the Rambam counts all of the mitzvahs at the beginning of his book, all the 248 do's and the 365 don'ts. And in one of those mitzvahs, he says about mixing linen and wool. And you know what he says? He says we shouldn't do it, because that is what they used to do, the idolaters. Used to mix wool and linen.
They used to mix the
Wool and linen. In other words, it says that you're not supposed to shave completely, okay? Because that is apparently also a custom of the Gentiles that used to shave completely, right?
Oh.
Yeah, they cut their hair around like with a cereal bowl, and shave the rounds. That apparently is also, yeah. Then whatchamacallit, then and it says shatnez. That putting wool and linen together is so that's a bit interesting, isn't it? So according to you're trying to understand.
No, where did you mention the way
well, it seems that the so-called priests of idolatry would shave around their hair. So that's why, like, for example, we have payers.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So I know you said like Friar Tuck and all that, in Robin Hood. That was a similar sort of thing, but it used to be, I think, even in ancient times.
Really?
They used to do that, yes.
I'm
I'm not imagining, but I thought I saw Mrs. Suffering slowly walk past, and she's disappeared.
Here, I'll open it.
I'm sure. I mean, she was going the wrong direction because. There she. I see. I wasn't imagining. Okay, so he says the Rambam says it's about idolatry. And I thought, oh, that's very interesting. So actually, I've just asked a fellow colleague. That means because normally we write shatnez as one of these a non-comprehensible mitzvahs, like sacrifices as well. Sacrifices, we don't really understand sacrifices. No. We don't understand the ideas of tumah and tara, purity, impurity. Yes, kashrus we spoke about. I mean, we had a little chat about that. that a lot of the kashrus is not, is not logical, supra rational, as they say. So Bechukotai means you shall go in the chukim when you keep the chukim, keep the statutes. We said the word chok comes from the word chakika, yes, which means engraving.
Wow.
Yes,
It's hard.
chakika. Yes. What now? What is chakika? Ladies, come in. Welcome.
Sorry to be late, as usual.
I thought I saw you going down the road.
You
And
were
you disappeared. No, I saw you going the wrong direction, and then I didn't see you anymore.
Oh, right.
I had to go back. Okay, you went too far. Okay, where's the other half? I mean,
The other half is looking after Dina, who can't do anything except with the baby.
oh, I see.
Well, she's getting better.
Okay.
She misses this very much.
Oh, well, she could always go
She can come
online.
I
Why
couldn't
she go
have
online?
last week.
Why can't she go online? Tell her to come online.
She's looking after a baby.
Well, we don't have to stare at the baby the whole time. While you're holding the baby, you could wash the shit. Anyway, okay. Now, so we're just saying we're on page 826, 827. So we said that Bechukotai is coming chakika, engraving. 2 lessons about the engraving. One is that engraving is hard work. Yeah, chisel and this, that, and the other. It's hard, right? I mean, obviously, there's different levels of engraving, but it's hard work. It's not like writing. Writing is easy. You just write something, yeah? So it's hard work. And number 2, what's the second one, Anne? Do you remember? What's that? I'm putting Anne on the spot a little bit here. Correct. It's not it's not just more permanent.
You can't erase it.
You can't even erase it. In so much so that the letters are the fact that you've chiseled out the part of the material that you've actually chiseled on. Yes, it's actually part and parcel of the same thing. The letters and the lack of letters, if you like. Yes, because that's the space where you're chiseling out. So much more part of the thing. So Bechukotai is that really it's hard work. It's hard work. And Bechukotai, Hashem says, you know what? I know it's hard work. I know it's hard work. But if you do the hard work, you'll get a good reward. And this is the whole point. And also the fact is that the cutting up, it permeates, just like the letters permeate the whole existence of the stone or the gold or whatever you are hewing out, right? So too, if Judaism is part of you and it permeates you all the way, then the blessings will permeate all the way down to just the natural materialistic stuff that you get will also be blessed. Do you understand?
Yeah.
It's a kind of it's just a natural consequence. So that's why it's not really the reward as such. It's just saying, oh, by the way, there'll be a nice fringe benefits when you do all this. Okay, so you should be happy to do it. To be, so this is what we're talking about in Bechukotai. And it is hard, but Hashem says, don't worry. Okay, it's hard, but the word im normally means, what does the word im mean in Hebrew?
With.
What?
With.
That's where the I is. If, im. Now, if you will keep my commandments, Rashi says actually, if here means, actually not Rashi, does Rashi say it? Or was the Gemara? I can't remember, but it says, im Bechukotai it's a lotion of tachanun. It is a supplication. It's like a request, a plea. Hashem says, please do the mitzvahs. Please do my mitzvahs. Please work hard at doing my mitzvahs, and then I'm going to reward you.
Really?
Yes.
The weights?
Yes, it's a please. It's a please.
Because chok sound like.
Yes, that's yes, it's like, just do it, mate.
Yeah.
Just do it, mate, and don't
Like
start up with me. I'm telling you. Sorry.
in English, you'd say if only you'd keep my.
If halavai, exactly. Halavai, that's the other word that's used. Halavai. Yes. I was just listening to a lecture the other day.
It says here, if you pursue.
I was just no, that is the translation of the word.
I'm just thinking.
study of. He's a
The
The
student.
study, well, of course,
That's
the study.
interesting. So it's another.
You know, but yeah, because the next part is in Tishmeru Sisamosom. It's mitzvosai Tishmeru. It's the next part is talking about the mitzvahs. So the first part is actually talking about Torah study and working hard at Torah study.
Mm.
But I was just listening to a very interesting a Shiur, kind of a panel between Rabbi Yossi Jacobson and Rabbi Shimon Russell. Now, Shimon Russell is a very famous educator, and he's very big into counseling families for crisis education for children. Yes, for children that have been challenged with tests and who knows what, and the children have gone perhaps a bit, off the way or whatever, right? And he's very big into that. I mean, he had that with his own family. He had all sorts of challenges with his own kids and whatever. And now he's become a very famous, because his whole idea, his whole hashkafa, so he's very sought after. He talks about incredible, unconditional love for your kids and this, that, and the other. And he says, they're discussing, and he comes up and he suddenly says, I don't tell my kids to do anything. He says, nothing. I don't want to do anything. So there's, well, what do you mean? He says, I ask them if they'd like to do it. I asked, could you do this? Would you be able to do this? Could you do me a favor and do this, do that, the other? He says, I don't tell my kids to do anything.
Do they always say yes?
Huh?
Do they always say
Does it work?
And he said, yes, he does. He says, yes, in most cases. He said, it does work.
So it's not going to work now. It's not going to work when they told them.
If you tell them, that's also true. If you tell them to do it, yeah. But the chances that because so in a way, of course, we're supposed to be just doing what we're told, obedience and all that stuff, right? But the truth is, in Bechukotai is telling us that Hashem is saying that, do me a favor. Do you mind just doing that for me? The 10 suggestions, 613 suggestions. I mean, so halavai do that, and I think the truth is very good. I think it does work. People like to be treated that way. Somebody said, "Well, how old do you have to be?" He said, "Well, at least definitely from bar mitzvah on." You speak to your children like, "Is that okay? Could you do that for me? Would you do that for me?" Right? No. Take that rubbish out now. Don't muck around now. Do this, do that. So you don't like people who don't like
But
that.
then there's, the Torah that says if you don't do this, then this.
Yeah, but that's not parents. That's wrong.
That's difficult.
Yeah, but I've seen even when you get to my age, you have to be careful not to say, "Oh, that's nice, I'd like that," and then next thing it arrives. Because you're not asking for it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's what he's saying. Again, it's the word im. If you look at the word im again, it's asking. It's halavai. Halavai, you don't mess up. Halavai, you don't do it.
Yeah.
If you tell the kids, do me a favor, it's better not to smoke.
Oh,
Oops, sorry.
you get a coffee warmer.
Why don't you maybe do me a favor, maybe just instead of smoking 10 cigarettes a day, smoke 9. Could you cut down maybe a little bit?
My mother-in-law offered a £5 for that. And I'm talking about
your
70
husband?
years ago. Yeah, to stop smoking.
Yeah.
He stopped. He took the £5, but really, the thing was, first of all, he was coughing. Second of all, there was a boy who was in
A fiver in those days. A fiver in those days.
Away who was eating milk chocolate. And he begged him, stop eating milk chocolate. He says, well, you're smoking. I said, okay, you stop the milk chocolate, I'll stop smoking. So I had 2 deals. And then one day the boy came to school and said, I had some milk chocolate yesterday. I said, okay, let's smoke a cigar. But since then, I've met the boy in
What are you talking about? You talking about
Yeah.
How old was he? Oh, he was a
When
teacher?
He came to London,
He was a
like,
teacher or
He was a teacher.
he was a teacher?
He was one of the Kingsley Way boys. Actually, they're quite a wealthy family, so maybe we'll get some donations for the fund. But
Have you got the phone number?
yeah, and he lives in
Thank you.
California.
All right.
So
Give it to me
thing
after
is
the show.
this, that
Okay.
it did work. It did work. It meant a lot to him that he should keep following his soul. So,
Okay.
but he also took the £5.
All right. Well, look, this is take the fine. Take whatever you can get, especially if you're a teacher, right? That's a tip. Yeah. Anyway, so this is the thing, so Hashem does say, this is really something that is quite precious. Now, we are going to just discuss now. I'd like to discuss here one of the verses. Let me just see which verse it is. I'll have to check on my notes, won't I? Yes, here we go. Vishpati Hairov, 26:6. Chapter 26:6. So what page will that be on? Oh, it's actually top page 828. 828, 829. Yes. Hasheni. Yes, from Asati Shalom Ba'aretz, I will give peace in the land, says God. You'll lie down, and you're not going to have anybody scaring you. No scares, because sometimes people go to bed, they're scared of robbers, burglars, who knows what, people who are coming into the land, right? Nobody's going to bother you. It's going to be Beseder, right? That's why at Pesach, Leil Shimurim, yes? People have that great feeling of, invincibility on the night of Pesach, yeah? V'hishpati chaya ra min ha'aretz. I will cause the animal of the land, the chaya ra, the bad animals, to cease from being in the land.
Chaya, that's just wild, no?
Wild animals, yes, exactly.
I they said bad. Huh?
Well, bad animals, but you're right. But you do have chaya that are wild animals, but they're not bad. Deer, gazelle, they're nice. They're wild animals. Yeah, they're nice, cute animals, rabbits. We're talking about chaya ra because look. Well, actually, this is not a Rashi, I don't believe. Hold on a second. No. Let me explain to you. There's actually in the Midrash, which is called Torah's Kahanim, on this statement that I will get rid of I will cause the bad animals to cease. There is a dispute between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda says that it means that in the times of Mashiach, there will be no, he says, mashpita min ha'aretz. They will totally get rid of them. They are mavir min ha'aretz. All the bad animals will disappear. Disappear off the face of the earth. Rabbi Shimon says no. He says that the animals will still be here, but they won't do any harm. They won't do any harm, right? And he says, he brings the verse, he says, he brings a proof, Rabbi Shimon brings a proof. Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbos. This will be the day, Mizmor, here's a song for the song of Shabbos, right? And he learns from that verse that the animals, and he says that's referring to the Messianic era. Yes? It's not talking about regular Shabbos, it's talking about the Messianic era. So he says that the Mizmor, the Shabbos is like it's a day that is, a whole day is peaceful and happy and wonderful. Right? So he uses that verse and says, oh, now we see that actually the animals will still be there, but they won't disappear from the land. Okay? Now, the problem is, we've got a couple of questions here. Rabbi Yehuda, there's a problem with Rabbi Yehuda. Just going to close this door. It's going to help at all, but not close the door. Rabbi Yehuda says that the animals will disappear in the future time of Mashiach. He said, can you think of a bit of a problem with that? Can you think of a bit of a problem? I'm going to throw it out to the crowd. Can you think of a bit of a problem with that prediction? Well,
The food chain would be interrupted.
well, but they're all, presumably, it means all the animals become a vegetarian. Yes. They'll all go to kosher kingdom.
These animals are used for other things, for skin, for yeah.
So we're
talking about wild animals, right?
not now. You can't use fur anymore these days.
No, but even a puzzle, they use the skin for burn victims.
Yeah, and the slippers. Yeah, and they use the heart for transplant. Yes,
There
you're right.
won't be any sick people in.
Okay, so that's a logical thing. Okay, yeah. There's another more, in a sense, how should we say, biblical reason, and that is that there are various verses that talk about Mashiach. It says that the lamb will lie down with the wolf, and the leopard will lie with the goat. So here, it seems quite clear that the animals will be around,
They'll be peaceful.
but they'll be peaceful. So we've got a bit of a problem with Rabbi Yehuda. Yes? No, you don't think so?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying, okay. And so now the other question is, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the question is Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon says that Mizma Shilim Shabbos is talking about Mashiach. Okay, but couldn't that mean, why are you saying that verse points to the fact that the animals will no longer do any harm? It could mean, because the word Shabbos means to stop, or to cease, or to cause to stop. So it could mean that the animals would be caused to stop altogether. Why are you using that verse? The verse, it's not such a very good proof, the verse, right? Because it could also mean that the animals are no longer Shabbos. Shabbos is peaceful. The animals don't exist anymore. Why do you say it means they exist? So the Rebbe says that actually we could look at Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, and we could say like this. Rabbi Yehuda holds there are two periods in the Messianic era. Two periods. One period where the animals will actually, one period, the first period, when the animals will not do any more damage, and the other period, the second period, when the animals will get rid of altogether. Two periods. Okay. And that's Rabbi Yehuda's view. Now Rabbi Shimon holds no. There's only going to be one period. Why only one period? Well, it says Mizma Liyom HaShabbos. Shabbos means one Shabbos. So really, there can only really be one period. It's interesting because there's a disagreement in the Talmud. Now, what happens at the end of the Messianic era? Is there going to be, it says 6,000 years there will be the world, and then 1,000 years the world will be like dry, which basically means, some say even destroyed. But it means, the Mefarshim explained that the world will be totally peaceful. There'll be no more, no more wars, no more famine, no more anti-Semitism, everything will be hunky-dory. So it'll be devoid of any conflict of any kind whatsoever, right? So that's Rabbi Akiva believes, holds that there'll be 1,000 years, and then there's another opinion holds that there's going to be 2,000 years.
In between the two periods?
Consecutive thousands. So one opinion holds there'll be 2,000 years of when Mashiach comes. After the 6. So it'll be 8 altogether. 6 and 2 is 8, right? I'll worry about it then. Then what? Yeah, it'll be good. Don't worry. So this is the so here we come to this whole idea, the Mizma Liyom HaShabbos, because it says the word Shabbos, one Shabbos. He's using that verse to imply that there's only one. It can only be 1,000 years, right? According to that difference of opinion, and therefore there can also going to be one period. One period. So, yes. Now, and I have to say, it does sound a bit more plausible, because in the sense is, if the animals, why would you need to get rid of the animals? I mean, actually, a lot of these animals are getting extinct anyway, right? Unfortunately, a lot of animals are getting extinct, right? But it's surely, in a sense, there is a greater idea that you've got the bad animals there, and they stop killing people, and they lie down with the lamb. That's like an amazing thing, yes? It's like when the enemy becomes your ally. That is so much more, inspiring.
Why can't Yom HaShabbos mean one period of 2,000 years?
Oh, one period of 2,000 years. That's very interesting.
What's the difference? One period, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I guess that.
Because it talks about 2 increments, that's why.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, it does say Shita Alpha Om. It does say 6,000 years, and then it said Chadkru. It says one. So it's a bit hard to understand the opinion that says there's going to be 2,000 years. Actually, it's actually more of a problem to try and understand that, but I'm not trying to.
I like to think it'd be forever.
Forever. Well, yes. Well, there will be a certain time when, of course, we're going to go beyond the Messianic age, yes, and we will have the resurrection of the dead. And according to, there's a bit of a machlokes how long the resurrection of the dead will last. After the dead, what we just carry on. So some say that will last forever. Some say, like the Rambam says,
then no one's going to be dying.
No,
are they? So
nobody's going to die.
Any more death.
Well, remember that there won't be any more. And that was the original plan, wasn't it? That was plan A. That Adam wasn't supposed to die. Supposed he wasn't. That wasn't the plan. He was supposed to live forever. Yes.
Really?
I don't know about all the other animals, but man and his descendants were supposed to live forever. Okay, so we will get back to that original state when Mashiach comes. Yeah.
So if we really believe in Mashiach's coming tomorrow, we wouldn't waste our money booking long.
That's right. What a waste that would be.
I will answer that question by the Rebbe himself. At one point after the passing of the Rebbe in 1988, yes, or 88, 89. Yeah, I think it was 89, early 89 when the Rebbe passed away. So he took in a few secretaries, and he started to speak about after 120 years. And he says, it's uncomfortable to talk about it, blah 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 blah. But we need to talk about it. We talk about what's going on and what's going to happen. Yes. So this discussion was made. It was written down about the will and everything with the Rebbe. Now the Rebbe, nobody was more Mashiach orientated than the Rebbe. Yes. There was nobody who pushed more for Mashiach to come any and every day than the Rebbe in the history. And yet, he chose to have that discussion. Yes? Because by the way, there's Mashiach, and then there's Tchias HaMeisim.
Yeah, that's right.
Tchias HaMeisim. Yeah, so in other words, in a sense, we all have to do, you have to have Tchias HaMeisim, the resurrection of the dead. We have to go through a process of the opposite of life.
For a second.
It could be even for a second. Yes, that's what the Rebbe says. It doesn't have to be a long time. It could be just a very, very, short, very temporary thing, right? But so obviously there is that idea of Tchias HaMeisim. Some people do think that when Mashiach comes, everyone's going to live forever. They're going to live forever. It's not true. They may live a lot longer. That's true, because it does say, I think the verse says, "Nar ben mea yomos," that a kid will die when he's 100. In the times of Mashiach.
So he's lost 20 years.
Well, no, they'll say, well, he's lost 20. Yeah, but they'll say, no, he's lost 20 years.
I think
No.
it means that he's a kid until he's 100, and then he gets an adult age.
Exactly. It means that Nebuch, he died so young. That's what's going to happen. He died like a kid. Nebuch, he only died. He died at only 100. He should have lived to at least 300 or 400. Yeah. Do you understand? Maybe that's what's going to happen. That we will all live, and obviously it will be gazon, and we'll be living, in a healthy way, right? I mean, that's always the idea. But there is that idea of Tchias HaMeisim. So that's still happening. Okay, now let's just move on a little bit. Okay, let's talk now a little bit something later on in the Parsha. After the discussion of all the brachos and all the opposite of the brachos, interesting section, page 836, starting 836, 837. Oh, you know what? Let's do just one more little thing. I'm sorry about the blessings. Let's just do one more little thing. Hold on, what's the pasuk? I've got to get the pasuk. Oh, here we go. Yes, sorry. Go back to that page we were just on, 828, 829. It says, Uridaftem sorry, Vechem verse 7 says, you shall chase your enemies, lifneim, and they will fall before you, the horror, with the sword. And 5 of you will chase 100, or mea mekem revava, and 100 will chase 1,000. Sorry, will chase 10,000. Thank you very much. And okay, and then they'll all fall before you. So
it sounds like the more the enemy, the more strength, the less men needed.
the less men
to-
needed. That's right.
to
You're
conquer,
right.
yeah.
Anybody who knows mathematics, you're
Yeah.
obviously good at math, right?
Not me.
Because 5 to 100
Yeah.
is not the same proportion of 100 to 10,000, right? It's like
the percentage of
the percentage is much. I mean, 20 times 5 is 100, isn't it?
Mm.
20 times 5 is 100. Well, what's 20 times 100? 20 times 100 is 2,000. Is 2,000. And yet we'd say that 100 will chase 10,000. So that is actually, well, how much is that? More, it's like
5 times more.
80. 20 times 5 is probably 80 times. 80 times more, is that right? I'll get my calculator here. Just 1 second. 80 times 100. Oh no, it's 100 times.
I think it's 1%.
It's 100. It's 100 times 100 is 10,000.
So it's 1.
So instead of 20, yeah. So in other words, it's a multiple greater by 5 times 20 is 100. So it is much stronger. And in addition, by the way, Rashi says, "Mikem minachaloshim shebachem," from your weak ones, not from the big shots, right? So that's the whole discussion. Why? How do we know it's weak? Okay, that's a different discussion. Why? How do we know it's weak? So Rashi says this whole thing about the maths. We can sort of figure out what's going on here. This doesn't make sense. It should say 100 will chase 2,000. And here we come to the beautiful idea. Rashi says that it's incomparable when a few people keep Torah to a lot of people keep Torah. When you've got a lot of people, yes, keeping the Torah, they can achieve a lot more. Yes, they can achieve a lot more. It's not just the sum of the parts. Yes, you've got, I guess if you've got a tug of war, right, and you've got 5 people pulling the tug of war, so they can achieve a lot, 5 people. But if you've got 100 people pulling the tug of war, right, it adds up. And it's not just a matter of adding him and him and him and him and him. That the power becomes more, what's the word? By a degree of it's not proportional. What's it called? It's like when they were talking about the pandemic spreading. What's the word?
Yeah.
Do you know the word I'm talking about? It's a word like it spread. It multiplies in a Meshuggah way, right?
The rate, the
Yeah,
R rate.
there's a flashy word for it. I can't remember.
Things spreading in an atomic way rather than in a.
Oh yes, when people do good mitzvahs, exactly. That's right. Yeah, in other words, it's totally disproportionate to the amount of right. So the more people keeping Torah, the more power it has to chase away the evil forces. Basically, that's really what it's all about. So numbers, generally speaking, numbers. We try to, quality over quantity. We always try to talk about that. We'd like to comfort ourselves when numbers are small, and that's true. Quality is important, but numbers also matter. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Now I want to just go on to what I was talking about before. Here we go. Page 836, 837. Here we have a thing, very interesting section, which talks about if a person makes a vow that they want to give a certain value of something to the temple. Now, you see,
Which page?
836, 837, and then over the page, 838, 839.
It's such a funny thing to think that you're giving the value of the person. But,
Yeah, it is a bit hard to. In other words, you could say, well, see what this section is saying. You want to donate something to the temple. Now, instead of just making a fixed donation, whatever it is, 50, 20 shekels, 30, 10, 15, you say you want to give the value of a person. What is the value of that person?
Depends how
No.
many working years they've got, obviously.
Well, no, here
according
we've
to
got a
this.
fixed table.
Yeah.
We've
that's
got
what
the
I'm saying.
table.
It's like
Yeah.
working years, like 20 to 60
Yes.
is the most.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But women
Correct.
don't depreciate as
Oh, very
Right.
good. We're going to get to that in a minute. So we have, first of all, there is a disparity in value. And by the way, Rashi says right at the beginning that this is all Gezeras HaKosim, like this is all something that we don't really know necessarily. This could be like a Overlander. We don't really know the reasons here, okay? Because, and it's not saying whether the person themselves is more valuable or not. A person who he's as an Einstein, yes, who's a genius, right? You might think, oh, he's very valuable. He's very valuable. And a taxi driver, so you're going to give the value of a taxi driver to the Beis Hamikdash, to the temple. We don't care.
They're just
It's
going
not
by
about.
age.
It's about age. It's only about age. It's not about quality. It's not about your brilliance, not intelligence, strength. You know, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, you'll give a lot of money, you know, and then for a week, you know, a weakling, you'll give less. No, it's all about age.
It's a bit like
Age.
the half shekel, isn't it? That
Well,
we're all the same.
yeah, but you don't give half shekels, you give full shekels in this.
Yeah.
So that's why he says here, he says that if a person is a certain age, right, is there, I don't know if at the back they had a table about this, right? But it says basically that when a child is from 20 to 60, right, that seems to be the largest, right? So we have men are worth 50, okay? And women are worth 30. I don't like to say the word worth.
No, they cost less. They're cheaper.
There you go. Men will cost you more if you say a man,
but in the end,
and a woman will cost less. I think that's probably, although in modern Hebrew, erech means value, but it doesn't, it's only reflecting an age, right? So, and perhaps you might say that that's related to the potential that the person has in terms of their life. Not just general, statistically speaking, yes? Anyway, so the cost for a man is 50, the cost for a woman is 30, right? Now, if he's 5 till 20, in verse 8, he says the value for a man is 20, and the woman is 10. Then you have from a month, which of course after a month, it's not considered a miscarriage. And the first 30 days, if a child dies, God forbid, a million times, right, then that's considered technically a miscarriage. Because we don't exactly know when the conception was. Is it a full-term child or not, right? So notwithstanding the scans, right? So after a month until 5 years old, so the male costs 5 and the woman costs 3. Okay, and last but not least, from 60 up, however old you are, from 60 up, the cost for a man is 15, and for a woman is 10. Now here, you might notice something unusual, that when the older there is, when in terms of old age, the disparity between the cost for a man and a woman decreases. Yes? Again, you've got a percentage, you need a mathematics here. But between 20 and 60, right, you've got the man's 50 and the woman is 30. Yes? So, right? So there's a disparity there of 20. Right? That's a certain percentage. I'm not sure what the percentage is. But after 60, the difference is 15 and hold on.
10 is
And 10. Exactly. So there's only 5 difference there. And from here, Rashi brings a very interesting thing. He says that from here we learn that an old man, a very old man in the house, is a bit of a hard word. He calls it like a pacha, like he's a bit of an obstacle in the house, a trap in the house. It says to have an old lady, an elderly woman in the house is a siman bracha. It's a siman bracha. Yes, to have in the house. There you go. It's good for the ladies here. Good thing there's not too many men around. And my son actually wrote the other day on a group. He said, "That's not fair." There they translated the word pacha as a breach. That an old man in the house is a breach in the house. I don't think it's a very good translation. I don't think it's a very good translation. I think the word pacha means like a sort of obstacle. It's like a stumbling block. You know what I mean? A stumbling block. Now, however, a man might be simple. It's not nice. Is that nice? What's this his fault? You give him a bit of a pejorative sort of situation. So the Rebbe comes along and says, don't worry. He says, that's only in the house. But out of the house, maybe in the shul or the yeshiva or the school where he's like an elder. He's a zaken. Yes, he's an elderly man. He still retains that respect, and he still retains that, a certain greatness. It's when he's at home, it's a bit more problematic. It's a bit more challenging. He needs to get out. Yeah, he needs to get out. The husbands need to get out, otherwise they're a bit of a, yeah, so what can you do? Anyway, so this is the, yeah.
This is a bit young.
Sorry?
This is a bit young to classify together with.
It's a bit young for you're saying for the
To
older.
categorize him with the 90-year-old or 100-year-old.
Yeah. Well, look, I will say just lastly that people shouldn't get too carried away with the ageism, because as when we were in New York for my 60th birthday, so we had some good friends in Muncie. We went to see the Lambs, and he told me a great story he heard from the Gera Rebbe, that I think it was the Gera Rebbe, a certain chassid came to the Gera Rebbe, and he came for a special bracha. He was very nervous, this guy, very nervous. Because he's special bracha. He says, what do you mean, he says, well, I'm 60 years old. Yes, I'm 60 years old, and it says in the Pirkei Avot, the Ethics of the Palm, it says, Shishim l'zikna. Shishim l'zikna. Yeah, like 60 is for like old age. Right, and this guy he didn't like the idea. It's his 60th birthday. He was very nervous. What's that mean? What's going to happen to me? Right, so he's very nervous. So he's coming to the Rebbe for a bracha. Right, so the Rebbe said to him, "You've got nothing to worry about." He said, "Really?" He says, "Why? Why?" He said, "Well, because it says in Pirkei Avos, it also says, Ben Arboim Labina, 40, you come to a great understanding. When you're 40 years old, you come to a great level of understanding." He says, that wasn't fulfilled in you. So this won't be fulfilled in you. Don't worry about it. You're worried about them. You're about Shishim Azikna. You didn't have to be Arba Labina. You didn't even have that. So don't worry about being 60.
60 in those days was
So,
old. Now it's not.
Yes, you could say that. You could say that 60.
Well, the zikna that you will get to old age. Once you've got to 60, you'll get to old age.
There you are.
Lies in the word.
It's a stepping
There
stone.
you are. Yeah. I mean, listen, it also says at Pirkei Avos, it says that 18-year-old people should get married. Everybody should get married.
18?
18.
18?
Yes.
So
Oh, and the Rebbes, lots of them in the last couple of centuries, they get married earlier. 15, 16, look at the Rebbes, they all got married earlier. 15, 16, they're much more mature people. They were more mature.
They didn't have to go out and earn a living.
Okay, that's probably also true.
Yeah.
That's also true.
They lived with
But
a mother.
ages, these things are, how should we say, the general statements. But I thought it was very cute that this chap was so worried. The Rebbe said, don't worry about the 60. It's not gonna affect you.
That's really your kind of thing that you would have thought up.
Yeah, well, no, I just thought it was quite fun. It's very
Yeah,
good.
it's very good.
Anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming.
you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you very
much.
much.
And we'll see you next time.
Fantastic.